The following program will make you want to grow things and experience new and wonderful dreams about your plants, garden, and garden design. Listener participation is always strongly advised. Good evening and welcome to Down the Garden Path with your hosts, Joanne Shaw and Matthew Dressing, right here on Reality Radio 101. To get on board by telephone, dial 905-725-1907. Toll free in North America, 1-866-905-7325. Worldwide, 1-866-656-5477. Send us an email right now. Our email address is instudio101@gmail.com. And now, ladies and gentlemen, right to your hosts of Down the Garden Path, Joanne Shaw and Matthew Dressing.
Thank you, and welcome everyone to this episode of Down the Garden Path, where each week we discuss down-to-earth tips and advice for your plants, gardens, and landscapes. As landscape designers and gardeners, we think it is important and very possible to have great gardens that are low maintenance, and we want to help you make it happen. I'm Joanne Shaw, landscape designer and owner of Down to Earth Landscape Design for the past 11 years. It is a design-only business here east of the GTA in Ontario, Canada. With me is my co-host, Matthew Dressing. Welcome, Matthew.
Hey, Joanne. Welcome, Joanne. Welcome, everybody. I am Matthew Dressing, horticulturist and landscape designer and owner of Natural Affinity Designs. Natural Affinity is a landscape design and garden maintenance firm servicing Toronto and the eastern GTA. We enjoy doing Down the Garden Path each week, bringing you interesting, relevant, and helpful topics to help you achieve a great garden. We learn right along with you, from each other, from our research, and from the guests that join us here on the show. As always, we welcome your questions via social media, emails, and phone calls.
That's right. That's right. And we do have a change in programming we should mention. I know we announced last week that we were looking forward to having Julie Adolph Thompson on the show. Unfortunately, she is ill.
She is.
She caught the flu.
Poor Julie. We hope that you are in bed, warm and happy and healthy.
That's
getting
right.
better.
That's right. So we have changed gears a bit, and with the little fluffy, I don't know where everybody, our listeners are, but we have here east of Toronto, we have some nice light fluffy snowflakes falling. So we decided to do a segment called Dreaming of Spring. So that's what we're going to be continuing that dream. Right, Matthew?
You got it. So I guess we're going to talk all about, some new plants. You were at Canada Blooms.
Yes,
recently.
yeah. I've spent some time. I did some volunteering at the setup, as well as I toured the finished show yesterday. So I'm excited to share. I did share some pictures on Facebook and Instagram that I took, but I have more to share. So I'm looking forward to doing that. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah. Are you going to be able to make it?
I think I'm going to be going later in the week.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes. I to try not to go every year.
Yes.
But yeah, I haven't been in a year or so.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of Canada Blooms, for people that are local, now we're sorry because we know we have listeners all over, but I do have a pair of tickets for Canada Blooms.
Yes.
So value of $20 each. So $40 for the pair. How should we give those away? Do we have some questions? Somebody who writes in with some questions. What do you think? If you write in with a question,
sure.
And again, you have to be local. We will enter you into a draw for a pair of tickets.
Yes. So write us with your questions to enter in for the Canada Blooms. It's instudio101@gmail.com, and every question asked is an entry in.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Or if you have a design dilemma for us, then you get like 2 entries in, or 3.
Oh.
What do you think? How do we encourage people to give us a design dilemma?
Exactly.
So, yes. So it depends on how badly you want to go. Yeah.
So just before we get started, because Joanne's been to Canada Blooms, I almost said Canadian Blooms, but Canada Blooms, and I haven't. Don't forget to subscribe to the Down the Garden podcast on your favorite podcast app for instant updates and when new episodes go live. And this one will obviously, if you're going to miss some,
That's right.
will go live. So subscribe so you know that when this one goes.
That's right.
So you were at Canada Blooms.
I was, yes. And thank you for doing that, because we do want our listeners to know that they can subscribe to our show. So,
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
And so if for those people who aren't on the know about how Canada Blooms happens, but it didn't start until the 9th, but really setup started, I believe, March 3rd, that Saturday.
Oh, okay.
So it is quite the process for sure. And I was away until the Sunday there, and actually I think it was March 2nd. They started the Saturday, right? Sunday was March 3rd. And it's quite the process. The amount of sand and dirt and soil and mulch that come in, it's just, and brick and all the pavers. So I helped with the planting team. Tanya and Kelly have this, this team, Tanya Smith, Home Smith Gardening, shout out to her. But she coordinates all the planters, all the, let's say the public gardens, right?
Okay.
So the wine lounge, the stage, there's always a garden around the stage, all the different large planter boxes that are everywhere, and a few other like display gardens. So they're responsible for. So there's like in the back shipping area, all the plants come in, annuals, perennials, bulbs, shrubs, trees, and then it's like a whole army coordination of staging it as to how all of that gets put together and where it goes and that type of thing. So when I was there on Wednesday, the wine lounge was built, but it did not have any plants in it yet. Right. And if you didn't know about Canada Blooms, they do have a wine lounge with live music. It's a really cool place to hang out. It's a nice little destination within Canada Blooms. And so they kind of they trusted me with finding the plants that would go in the garden, and a bunch of volunteers helping. And we placed some trees, and and then when I joked because I was back yesterday and they hadn't changed anything, and Kelly said, no, that we wouldn't have changed it. You did a great job. Plus, they didn't have time, nor did they have any more plants. So everything I placed and put in within the wine lounge, stayed. So it was a fun experience.
Very cool.
Yeah, there was like a perimeter garden, and then there were large planter boxes that were kind of waist high. So you had to kind of have, that was more annuals. They each had a ornamental tree in the center, and then so annuals all around. But then the kind of more of the floor garden, you could kind of see all the way as you walked past. So it was quite nice.
Very nice, very nice.
So it is a really neat experience to be able to do that, and some creativity. Sometimes it's a recipe, and they're like, okay, these 6 plants are going in, this way, and do it like this. And sometimes it's like, okay, let's, we've got 3 large planters with a tree in the center. This is what's available to you, bulbs and annuals and vine, trailing plants, and let's make it beautiful.
So you really got some design creativity, some leeway to kind of do what you want.
Yes.
Hear the materials go and kind of have some fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So just for our listeners, if you think this is really cool, I've seen the floor empty before.
Yeah.
And I've seen it full, but I've never seen it in between, and I've never volunteered for it.
Yeah.
But just in case somebody's listening who wants to volunteer, how did you get involved with volunteering for Canada Blooms?
Well, through our mutual friend Nancy, she's been volunteering for years and years and years. So I mean, there's lots of, you can reach out to Canada Blooms directly. Tanya is the one responsible, so you can reach out to her at Home Smith Gardening. .ca, I believe, is her. She's got a business on the side that obviously isn't. She's not taking care of people's gardens in February and March. So it's you can volunteer. I did one really long day because I didn't want to do multiple days. There's some volunteers, they do shifts, like break them up like 8 to 2 and 2 to 7, that kind of thing. Okay. So they are really flexible. There was someone he was young. He was so keen. His name is Thomas, and shout out to him from Etobicoke. So he worked for the city of Toronto in Etobicoke. And, he was so young, I didn't know, you're kind of pointing and you're kind of, but he knew he knew what the plants were. Like, you don't know when you get there, right? What
True.
People's level of knowledge is. But he knew the plants. And when I'd say, I need a few more junipers, he'd like, you need 3 more junipers. I'm like, yes, you're right. I do need, that kind of thing. So that was really cool. So I think it's something even if it's just sorting, like early on, when all the plants are delivered, they just need people who know what plants are, like know a perennial, like because they separate. Obviously all the annuals go here and all the bulbs go there. Right. So lots of times there's volunteers that are fine with heavy lifting, but they don't know their plants, right? So having someone who can direct, okay, the trees and shrubs go here, and for this booth, that type of thing. So there's all different kinds of volunteering. And it really is a cool experience. And then knowing what the plants are in order to deliver them to the large garden installers. When they're ready for their trees, who gets what, that type of thing. And then there's a little bit later, like when I was there on the Wednesday and Thursday, there was the more hands-on. Nice. Melanie Rekola, who's been on our show with the pool landscape designer. So I was there Wednesday, she was there Thursday. So I did the wine lounge and she did the stage. So we were talking today about it, and we both had the same wonderful volunteers. Bernard and Blaine were great. And so it really is a cool experience. And I think people are maybe afraid, thinking you have to commit for the whole thing or long days. You don't. You can just do a couple hours, whatever you need, whatever you feel like up to. They do provide lunch and water and all those things, and coffee and stuff like that. So. And
now, as part of it, do you get free passes into the show?
I do. Yeah, you do. You get free passes into the show, into the Royal Botanical Gardens as well.
Oh, very nice. Yeah. So a couple of things there.
Yeah.
So sign up to Canada Blooms if you're looking for a unique and interesting volunteer experience. Very cool. Yeah. CanadaBlooms.ca or .com. Whichever one. I rarely go to their website, so I'm not sure. But you can definitely get a hold of them, and I'm sure they'd love all the help. Emma writes in, hi, Joanne and Matt. Joanne, if they trusted anyone to make that choice, my vote would be, my vote would have been for you as well. I have seen your work. Amazing. Love your radio show.
Oh, thank you so much, Emma. That's great. I really appreciate that. So I hope anybody who is planning on going to Canada Blooms, take a look at it and let me know write in and let us know what you guys think.
Exactly. Yeah. Let us know. So every year, and I think it was last year, was it going to the movies? Was the theme of Canada Blooms?
Yep.
So what is the overall theme this year?
This year, the theme was family. So I know. So it was a little tougher as far as the garden. But I think overall the show pulled it off. I was telling you about that big display, that Come Alive outside.
Yep.
Huge area that kind of right when you leave the home show, because Canada Blooms is in partnership with the home show. So I think people get stuck in the home show and don't make it back to Canada Blooms. But this whole front section, was artificial turf and outdoor games and hula hoops and chess sets, big chess sets and big bowling sets and things. Just really encouraging sand play and water play and really encouraging kids to play outside. So it was a really great, it also was on theme as far as the family goes. So
Yeah, just like the Garden Trends Report, right? Connecting back to Earth, removing blue screen time. And what a great way. You were showing me some pictures before, and the chess sets and the tic-tac-toes and the basketball hoops on the artificial turf. Like, what a great way to go out and have some fun.
And so simple. Like,
it's so simple, and you're out there with nature, and you're outside away from that. So really cool theme. Very
and so all the different garden makers, had their own spin on it. And, lots of them did have, outdoor games, that type of thing. sidewalk chalk, all those basic things. Some of the front, I do want to give a shout out to some of the smaller gardens. So that's something that they tend to be a little bit on the hidden side. They're definitely around the perimeter of the garden, of the whole floor of the show.
Yeah.
So there's 4 or 5 front yard gardens, 4 backyard gardens, and then 4 balcony gardens, actually. Yeah,
Very
so
cool.
they're definitely worth seeing. I think they tend to be a little bit more relatable to most of our yards. Some of those big ones are inspiring, but, we can't all fit a pool, an outdoor barbecue, an outdoor
Right.
kitchen, and a golf putting green in our backyards, right? Not everybody can do that.
Yeah.
So I think that the feature gardens of the front yard, backyard, and balconies were really cool. And they also were really great at the theme as well.
I was just gonna say, so
Mhm.
the theme how well did they keep to all the themes? And
I think they kept pretty well to the themes. The
Nice.
front yards were all really, really homey. There's one with sidewalk chalk, one with a porch swing, one with, also the dominoes and the chess set on the front stoop. And, so really just kept to the fact that family, should be playing outside.
Right.
Really.
and being with each other.
Yeah.
Nice.
And in the backyards, there were some with water features and artwork, as well as kind of a bit more whimsical. And then there was one with like a little bar and a little fire pit area that, just again, entertaining outside, having family space outside,
Right.
that type of thing. So, yeah.
Very nice. Well,
Yeah.
good for them. I'm glad that
Mhm.
all those designers and companies were able to join in and add to the excitement of this show.
Yeah, for sure. It is kind of challenging to kind of do what you want, incorporate the material you have
Yeah.
available to you, and try to tie in with a theme. So I think there was a lot, a lot of happening.
Yeah. Well, it looked like from the pictures that they
Yeah.
all rose to the occasion.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
good on them. We've got another listener writing in, George. How do I get involved? That sounds like quite the affair. Canada Blooms is such a very special entity. More people need to be involved. The family theme is so cool and encouraging. Well, thank you, George. Yeah, Joanne got involved through a mutual friend. She's been involved in years. You said Nancy had been involved.
Yeah.
So if you just get a hold of Canada Blooms, you can probably just contact through their website
Mm-hmm.
and write them, and they would be more than happy to steer you in the right direction and set you up for next year. For
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
Yeah, you're definitely right, George. A lot of people, it's very cool, unique entity, a nice flower show, and lots of ways to get involved and inspired by it. So
Yeah, and I think especially for people who love gardening and who are really looking forward to planting again. Like, it was so
Yeah.
nice to be around plants and have our hands in dirt and mulch and sand, and as I was around, I was actually toured the show yesterday, and there were so many people said that. It's like, oh, it's so nice to smell spring. And it's not just and I kind of looked at her because I thought, I don't smell anything. But, she, in her mind, she's like, you can smell soil and you can smell the
Oh,
fresh
yeah.
air and you can, it was really a nice thing. So I think it's a great way for gardeners to kind of, get that early fix.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, and it just reinforces how strong that connection to Earth is.
Yeah.
We actually physically start to crave it. We need it, and we take notice of all those things. So
Yeah, and it's
that's
cool to
really
be
cool.
a small part of a big thing,
Oh,
when
yeah.
you see it. And then there's tear down as well, which is always a bit more chaotic than the put together. But so there are little pockets of volunteer. So yeah. Oh, Gail wrote in. Oh, do you know if Canada Blooms is in Regina, Saskatchewan? I've never heard of it. Is it national? It is. I think it is. Well, they call it Canada Blooms, but it is just in Toronto.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
There are other flower shows sometimes, Gail, and like it's very similar events that happen, but Canada Blooms, I think it's very specific to it's Ontario's big show.
yes. Well, I think they almost make, because it's a national home show too. They call it.
Yeah, that's
Which
true.
is the
too.
big, so they do kind of treat it as national, but
National, but-
unfortunately, I'm sure you could agree, Gail, that tends to be the Toronto way that we do that.
Yeah.
We assume everything begins and ends with us. So I apologize for that, but it is worth the trip if that's something, you want to do a garden tourism trip in March. you can see Canada Blooms, visit Toronto Botanical Gardens in the winter, and a few other things. So
maybe, Gail, there's the opportunity you could start Saskatchewan Blooms or something similar your way.
Yes. Thank you for writing in.
Thank you, Gail. So family was the big theme. Mm-hmm. Were there any other smaller themes or any upcoming trends or the continuation of certain trends? I saw a lot of succulents in the pictures that I saw. Succulents and houseplants are always constantly growing. The vegetable gardening and grow your own. Another prominent theme right now in the gardening world was is there something or otherwise? Okay, sorry. As we ask,
Gail gave us a little sad face.
Yeah. We're sorry, Gail. But were there any other of those themes? Like, are they still coming in strong? Do you see anything else? Some hidden gems that might be coming?
Well, I think the big thing, they started the balcony gardens last year, and I think it really grew this year in the sense that it wasn't just, some containers and some houseplants in the balcony. The balcony planners, those designers really thought outside the box a bit and picked up on some trends. So I do want to shout out to a couple trends. One, we're going back to the veggies. So I think about it, our listeners in Toronto or that are in condos or know of somebody in condos. I mean, those balconies are really an important part of that small space already. Yeah. So there was one company, and I'm even going to give them a shout out, Terrace Creations. So they were doing custom, whether it's a custom floor, whether it was decking for the patio or even artificial turf for the patio or for the balcony. They said that a lot of times the balcony sides, like walls between your neighbors, aren't complete.
Yes, that's
and
true.
So cats, they said they have issues. A lot of people have issues with their pets kind of going through to the other person's balcony and privacy issues. So they are building. So they've kind of figured out a modular system in a modular way, and they said, everything has to be done, 8 foot as the biggest because it's got to be in the elevator. So they've got all those things kind of figured out, and researched some really great products as well, environmentally friendly products. And so they're seeing a huge demand for people who want something, because you can't just pick up something from Walmart or Costco and fit it on these balconies.
Yeah.
Like it has to be, there's some cases where it really does need to be custom. Yep. So they've figured out ways that it still has to be light. It still has to handle the weather and give you privacy, but not obstruct your view. So they've really come a long way. And so it was really, I spent some time talking with them, and I was really impressed.
That's very impressive, because I'm a balcony condo kind of person anyways, too. Yeah. Veggies, and it's always hard to see or to find, the right stool or the patio set or how do I do this and this and provide myself with this. So that's very interesting. I'm going to have to definitely take a look at Terrace Creations as well.
Yeah.
And you've got something there.
I do.
I've even got some literature she brought back from the thing. So I'll definitely have to take that a look.
And on that trend also, he kind of pointed out to the trend that I also saw happening both at the show and is the vegetables. So not only are homeowners wanting veggie gardens, but it is becoming a trend and almost a necessity because that's what people want to use their balcony for. They don't see that they're going to sit outside necessarily, but they want to be able to grow some plants, some vegetables on their balconies. So there is another, one of the other balcony garden displays at Canada Blooms had a variety of different vegetable containers. One was like a stepped. One was, I showed you that one with all the pea shoots. So it was like a lower one. They also had a wall, although I think on the wall one it was just impatiens they had growing. But they had a few different containers, but it was the whole garden. Their whole garden was promoting food. And they actually had a chalkboard on the side of the wall that kind of had the scale, like the timing, like, start these seeds, then check these, retransplant these. So it was kind of a cute little it was like a little working garden on their balcony. So that was kind of their theme. So that repeated both for the balcony gardens, and then this veggie pod. I showed you this veggie pod. Is also a garden that's, so somebody who is like a container garden,
Right.
whether it's on the ground or on a stand. And it actually has, what would you call the cover? What do they call that cover? Protection canopy.
Yeah.
So it comes in 3 sizes. So small veggie-pod, medium veggie-pod, and large veggie-pod. And so that was really a popular they had all the kids could play in these, so they had them all set up, and it was really cute. I thought this was brilliant. They had like real potatoes and real carrots, and so you saw all these little kids putting it, like, what I mean, it wasn't like they were digging in the soil and pulling up real carrots and real potatoes. So that was kind of a cute thing, I think, for the kids to play with. And I also saw on Instagram that several people who kind of posted that they bought them at Canada Blooms. So that's something I think that also picks up on a trend. I think these are great for kids, for seniors, so they don't have to bend down.
Yes.
These are waist high. Anybody with dogs and pets or rabbit issues, deer issues, that type of thing, keeps your vegetables, kind of contained. And it's fairly attractive.
They're
like
quite
I
nice
wouldn't say it's decorative, but it's not, a wooden box.
Right. There's actually some thought into the design and the style and the aesthetics of the product as well. Most certainly.
Excellent.
Yes. We have another listener question. Alice writes in, "Hi, I have a major problem with my balcony garden with cats and birds. Thanks for the heads up about that company. That is why I listen to Down the Garden Path."
Oh, thank you, Alice. That's
You're
great.
welcome.
Well, I hope you check them out and let them know Joanne sent you.
Yes.
Let Tim know. terracecreations.com. Yep. Custom condo decking, beautiful, natural, affordable, but they don't do more than just the decking. So for sure.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So they were selling the garden pods or veggie pods.
Veggie pods. So definitely I would say that, in all areas of the garden, vegetables were pretty key. But it was nice to see them on a balcony or set up places for a small space. Because even a small, whether it's in Durham region, a small garden, backyard garden, or in the city, a small backyard garden, having something like the veggie pod where it's up, it's elevated, it's tucked in the, it's obviously got to be in a sunny spot. Or it's mobile, maybe you're renting and it's not something you're going to stay forever. So it's an investment that you can take it with you. So I really think people are thinking literally outside the box when it comes to that. And I was saying too that I was at the grocery store buying bags of lettuce for my family. And holy cow, when did lettuce get to be so expensive?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought to myself, I need to grow more lettuce this summer because it's like $6 a bag, and it's like cents a seed.
Yeah.
So yeah.
They're
so that's
so easy.
So for sure.
Come again. And
yes.
Yeah.
So I don't see this trend slowing down anytime soon. I don't know about you.
No, I don't think so. Even in the garden centers, the veggies, year after year after year, it is the single commodity that is growing just almost exponentially. It's constantly on the move. So, veggies are definitely going to be here for a long time yet. So, what about at the marketplace? Was there anything else cool or stunning, like anything on sale or... you get all the little vendors and things like that. Yeah.
Well, the Toronto Botanical Gardens has like a little store in Canada Blooms. So they always have some amazing stuff. And I didn't buy anything, which is good. But my favorite thing was, and you liked it too when you saw the picture of, they've got these beautiful heads.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Head planters. And I don't know why it's taken so long for us to get them here in Ontario. I know our listeners from the U.S., I went on my garden tour, even Minneapolis 3 years ago. They had these heads. You could put house plants in them or outside plants, and they just look so cute tucked into the garden. And we have not had them.
No.
Some were like more, these ones were very pretty, like they were pretty women's faces and stuff. So Toronto Botanical Gardens had them for sale, as did Kate's Garden in the marketplace. Yeah. So they are something to. So I think they're going to be a trend. It just seems to be taking a little bit longer to get here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Faces are strong still in statuary at the garden center, but
yeah.
that whole plantable head thing, it hadn't.
Yeah, Yeah, and
but
you guys probably
now-
don't get what we're talking about either. Maybe I'll post a picture
Yeah, I'll
on
have to post a
Instagram
picture.
so you know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. But in the sense, it's in a positive way.
Yeah, it's like a little pot, but
Yes.
it was like molded like Mother Earth or a Grecian, like
Yes.
or a Roman
Face
goddess
with hair on the
face with-
side, and then yes, you could put the plant.
right, you put
Yeah.
the plant and it becomes the hair and
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff. Yes, very.
Yeah. So
very neat.
your typical things in the marketplace. So there's Canada Blooms is within, Toronto Botanical Gardens gift shop is within Canada Blooms. The garden marketplace is actually outside of Canada Blooms and in kind of off of, I guess, more of the home show. So when you leave Canada Blooms, you're going to enter like Heritage Garden area, and then you turn right and walk down the corridor, and that's like the Highway of Heroes corridor for the tree planting that we're trying. There's a foundation trying to get a tree planted for every soldier, Canadian soldier. And as you make it way through that, then at the straight ahead is the whole garden marketplace. So there's some plants, bulbs, tubers available. Lots of succulents were available there. Some other seeds, some seed companies, as well as, like I said, Kate's Garden with more garden giftware type of thing. So definitely it's a little off the beaten path, but it's definitely worth, especially if you like shopping.
Yeah.
You definitely want to check that out.
So what was, while you were visiting and putting everything up, of everything you saw and experienced, what was like the most inspiring? Like what was the thing that got you the most excited?
Ooh, that's tough. That's tough. I don't know what got me the most excited, but I definitely
Or
spotted
inspired.
some trends. So I would say black fencing,
Interesting.
black painting the wood black seemed to be a continuous trend. I noticed it in Florida. I walked around a neighborhood when I was on holidays. We stayed at Airbnb in a Florida neighborhood,
Right.
and a lot of their wooden fences were horizontal and painted black. And then I come to Canada Blooms here in Toronto, and horizontal wood fences and screens. And that, I don't know if you saw the one of all the pictures, the pergola that was painted black.
Yeah.
And it's amazing with the green accents in front of it. It's like the black makes it, you think the black would become the focal point, but something about it, the black actually recedes.
Interesting.
And you really notice the garden. Yeah, so I definitely would say that that was a trend that I kind of noticed, and they were all like not necessarily connected things, and the fact that they also had it in Florida, I was kind of like, that's really interesting.
That's interesting.
You know, and so that was one thing that I thought to myself, you know, I hope to find a couple of homeowners that are brave enough to paint their wooden fence black, because I think that was really a cool thing.
Interesting. Yeah, I
Mhm.
wonder how that'll trend will translate and continue up here.
Yeah.
Very, very neat. We have a listener question. Jason. Jason writes in, "Hi, I was in Las Vegas, Nevada on holiday 2 weeks ago. Very nice. While there, he visited Bellagio Conservatory and Botanical Gardens. It was an
Ooh.
amazing 14,000 square foot display. Absolutely stunning. I found out about your radio show from a handout that a vendor was handing out about garden radio shows from around the world. Since I live in Canada, I saw the information about your radio show. I'll be listening every week now when I can. Thank you."
Oh, Jason, thank you. That is
Thank
so
you very
cool,
much.
Gary.
That's very
Yeah,
cool.
I don't doubt it. We over the last year, I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but we've put out tons of information about all the shows here.
Yes.
And in Las Vegas, we hit, I think it was 80 cities in the U.S. and 20 cities in Canada. We sent out a press release.
Oh, okay.
So perhaps whoever was doing that, you're on a list of maybe hundreds of stations that have, broken down by country, Canada,
Right,
U.S.,
right.
whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you, Jason, for that. We
Yeah,
appreciate it.
That's great. And it's good to know. I mean, there aren't a lot of radio shows. I know there's not a lot of garden podcasts.
No,
you
there's
know.
not. There
It's
absolutely
definitely growing. I mean,
There's more
podcasts-
TV than radio for gardening.
For sure.
Yeah,
and there's not
absolutely.
even a lot of TV these
No,
days.
no.
Yeah,
So-
for sure. And there's a lot, like I belong to a bunch of different podcasting groups and things like that. And the gardening amount of us is really small compared to other things. So
And that's true. And I'm a friend. I'm in a union with producers, and I am a friend of some of the producers on HDTV. and even talking to them about stuff. Not so much gardening, but they say, the building trade is through the roof with that.
Yeah.
We have show after show after show remodeling. Build this, do this, you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
Redo this, buy and sell, blah blah blah. But there's very little gardening
Yes,
stuff.
how to garden, that type
yeah.
of thing. So thank you, Jason. That's hilarious that you're
So
from
you guys-
Canada.
Yeah,
and
you're
you
on
had
the.
to go all the way to Las Vegas
Yeah.
to hear about
Yeah,
us.
that's
but
what I was going to
hey.
say. You guys are on a list somewhere in Las Vegas.
Yes.
But where are you here, right?
Yeah, we're working on it. We're
Yeah,
working
yeah.
on it. So
Well, thank you, Jason, for tuning in. If you hadn't heard, or maybe you heard at the beginning of the show, and if you're just tuning in, don't forget to write in questions. Jason will be entered for the draw for the Canada Blooms tickets. If you're local, we've got 2 we're going to give away.
yeah, let us know if you're local, because we feel bad if we're going to give them away to someone who's not here.
Was I supposed to be keeping
I
track
know,
of this? I missed all this.
That's okay, I got it.
Okay, you
Matt has
got
got it.
Yeah.
Very good, very good.
Yes, we have a pair of tickets for Canada
Okay,
Blooms,
very
but of
cool.
course we can only give them to someone who's
And-
local.
Yeah, local, right.
Right? So we'll
so do we know where
figure that
these
out.
people are?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we will confirm.
Let us know, folks.
Yeah.
When you write, if
So
and
do you
when
want to
write in.
reread their names, and they can just write back in quickly if they're local?
So far, we've got Emma, George, Gail, Alice, and Jason who've written in.
That's right.
So they're in. If they're local, they're definitely entered for the draw. Hopefully, you're not far away.
And when
you
is
get there.
Canada Blooms?
It is happening now until Sunday. So
Okay.
So the 8th through the 17th.
And you have to
That's
be
right.
available too, right? Because
Yes.
it is kind of last minute.
it is for
so
sure.
even
for
if you're
sure.
from
So
Canada,
Monday, so it's not in 10 to 8, Monday to Wednesday, Thursday to Saturday it's 10 to 9, and Sunday it's 10 to 5.
yeah. So if you are in Canada and you write in, please don't accept the tickets if you know you can't go, because
Right.
we'd like to give them to someone that can use them.
Yes.
Right. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
Okay.
there. Just want to.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Gary.
No, that's true. So, and just so we can give them to somebody that can use those.
That's right. And we surprised you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I had no idea. I was in the galley.
Yes. Brewing a delicious coffee. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yes, and Jason, so also don't forget to check us out. All of our past episodes are through our websites, but also on your favorite podcast providers down the garden path. You can check out and catch up on past episodes.
That's
and
right.
lots of info there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You have lots of listening, Jason. There's like more years of stuff out there. I do also just want to give a shout out to Fusion Gardening. So there was a great installation. Geoscape he always does a great water feature at Canada Blooms. And this year they had him do the Fusion Garden in coordination with other Fusion Gardening certified landscape designers and contractors. We've had Chris Ray on to talk about that,
Right.
along with the region of the region of Peel and
York.
Thank you.
Nice. That was
Yeah,
really
so
nice
that
to
was
see.
so it was some of the things that we talked about on the show. You could actually see, you could see the rain garden. You could see the rain barrels and the overflow into a dry riverbed that kind of. You can see a whole bunch of different things that we've discussed in this display.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Is there anything else you want to share about or talk about Canada Blooms?
No, I think I I just check it out. Everybody who can, please check it out.
Yeah, it's definitely worth the drive and to check it out and make a day out of it. Check out things in Toronto. It's very, very cool. Very inspiring show. So we wanted to talk about a couple other things in our Dreaming of Spring episode. One of the things we were going to talk about was the new plants for 2019. There, a little intro time. There we go. So maybe we could start off with I like to call them the of the years. So we always have every year in the gardening world, there's the color of the year and certain plants of the year.
Yep.
And et cetera, et cetera. The list will go on. But let's start with the color of the year. So if you haven't heard what the color of the year is, it is living coral.
Oh,
Pantone's
yes.
living coral.
Okay.
So a very bright, interesting coral color. And there's a lot of annuals and different perennials that are out there that you can find as living
Wonder if that's
coral.
connected to the rose of the year, which happens to be a coral rose.
Ooh, and what one is that one?
It's if I could put my glasses back on. Seriously. At Last Rose.
The At Last.
The
Yep.
At Last Rose, which is the dawn of a new day for roses.
Yeah.
Fragrant, fully petaled tea rose, disease resistant. And it's in a beautiful coral color.
We've had those at the garden center for the last couple of years.
Okay.
Great little plant. Yes, very much along that line of that color. The disease resistance and the regular blooming and the strong flowering period.
Yes,
Yeah.
stands up. Because usually if they stand up to being in the pot in the garden center all summer, then they usually do well in people's gardens, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because there's the conditions in a pot.
Yeah, for sure. Conditions in the pot. There's no protection.
No. Irregular watering, hot days,
Yeah.
reflected heat. Yeah, for sure. So, At Last, the rose of the year falls into our living coral color of the year.
Excellent.
If you're looking out for some other plants, Super Bells, Million Bells. There's some Peachy Keen Verbenas, some Red Hot Pokers, Pyromania Hot and Cold, the Oh So Easy Mango Salsa Rose, Double Take Peach Quince, Infinity Salmon and Patience. There are a lot of really neat different ways to incorporate the color of the year.
And that's nice because it's a little different from pink, right? And different from red. It's nice to have coral.
Yeah, it's kind of not red, it's kind of not orange, it's kind of not peach, and it's pink. Yeah, it's really a unique, its own little color, which is bright and vibrant. It's a nice change from seeing the rest of them.
Excellent. What else?
The perennial of the year, Stachys moniarii homelo.
What is that?
And I didn't look up the common name because I always call it Stachys.
Okay.
But it's a perennial. It's a dwarf perennial, so 18 to 20 inches tall, 18 to 23 wide, full sun, summer flowering, zone 4, clump forming. You can divide it.
I think of Stachys as the as I interrupt you, I'm sorry. The lamb's ear.
It's related.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
okay.
It is related. It's not it is Stachys is the genus, but the species is different.
Call you king of the botanical names and me queen of the common names. There we go.
Latin and English.
That's right. Okay.
So it's really easy going. Beautiful purple flowers, nice rich tall spikes, flowering in the summer flowering. So late spring, early and through summer. Easy to divide in the spring, cut back, kind of like your coral bells when she gets kind of leggy after she's done her thing. Cut her back. Very nice, tidy, textured, medium green leaves.
Okay,
so a nice little foreground or ground cover plant.
So did you have the common name?
I'll look it up.
Okay, I'll put you on the spot.
Look
you look it up.
I'll look it up. And what about the hosta of the year?
The hosta of the year this sounds interesting. It sounds like a fabric swatch. Lakeside Paisley print. That's really the hosta?
Yes.
Wow.
That's the hosta of the year. And it looks really neat.
I guess it depends on the grower because then this one says Shadowland Autumn Frost is the hosta of the year. So yeah. So there might be multiple.
Well, and because do you have the Proven Winners?
I do. I have the Proven Winners flyer.
Right.
The Never One plant brand, and actually my honest favorite. But sorry, but I've just had such great success with their plants, so I definitely look for that pot, that white pot with the black lettering when I am purchasing plants. So they are saying Shadowland, which is kind of a creamy yellow and green. Autumn Frost hosta. Yeah, frosty blue leaves, and I do prefer the blue hostas with extra wide, bright yellow margins, margins lightened to creamy with light lavender flowers. Not a big one, 12 to 16 inches. How about yours?
Yeah.
Who's the grower for you?
I think I found mine through the Hosta Association, the
okay.
American Hosta Association. Just to answer our previous question, Alpine Betony.
Oh, okay.
One of the Betonies
Okay.
is the perennial of the year. But yeah, lavender flowers mid-season, zones 3 to 5, creamy white and green that emanate from the central midrib of the leaf in a random pattern out towards the edge of a medium green wavy leaf. And I believe she's 18 to 24 inches tall and about 24 to 30 inches wide, if I am remembering correctly.
Excellent. All right. So lots of new plants. I know in the this little flyer I have here from Proven Winners. They also have a annual of the year, which is a lemon coral sedum, which could also be perennial, right? Or is it not hardy?
It's not hardy here. It is zoned
okay.
to 7 to 11.
Okay.
Right. Known for it kind of reminds me of sedum angelina.
Yes.
But it is a little tighter.
Okay.
Yeah, not as long, nice and matte forming, great for containers.
Excellent.
Bordering edges.
Totally beautiful color, that lemon bright chartreuse color.
The color is absolutely stunning. She's definitely earned her spot as annual of the year just from the color and the versatility for sure.
Excellent.
For sure.
And my favorite, everybody's favorite, hydrangea. I didn't know there was ever a hydrangea category of the year, but they are recommending or introducing us to Firelight. Panicle hydrangea is the standard to measure all panicle hydrangeas. We developed this easy-to-grow, reliable hydrangea in Michigan, selecting it for its huge, full flower head, sturdy, strong stems. Blooms emerge creamy white and age to a vivid red, so even deeper than my favorite Little Quickfire. It's definitely a full, it's not as lacy as Little Quickfire, and it's definitely a fuller flower head and an even more vivid red.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the red seems to be very sought after in the hydrangea world, so that one should be...
Yes,
very
it's
cool.
big though. You need some room. So this is 6 to 8, so probably like Limelight.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a bit equal to Limelight. So instead of the white to pink, this one's going to go white to red. So yeah.
Very nice.
Very excited about that one. Cool. I'm running out of room. I like testing these in my own garden before I start putting them in designs, but I'm running out of room.
And you can't let go of any of the plants that are already there,
of course
right?
not.
No.
Of course not. Of course not. So
right in now, and we'll help Joy.
yes. And we should give a shout out to there's a couple of Weigelias newly introduced this year, and this Electric Love is a burgundy dwarf Weigelia. It is shockingly compact, according to them, loaded with red flowers against dark foliage for a one-of-a-kind look. And it is the plant at Canada Blooms this year. So you're going to see them in a lot in the containers. All of the gardens have them in there at some point. I know I put them in the wine lounge. So definitely take a look. It's a little dim lighting-wise there, so it's the dark foliage. But yeah, and I love having that contrast of foliage, and I love the compact Weigelia. So they are one of my favorites that I like designing with. So Electric Love, gotta love that name.
Electric Love, indeed. And it looked really good. It was nice and lush and fresh looking in the pot. And
it was
very nice.
Yeah,
very nice. That's what's nice about the other hosta too. The Proven Winners hosta of the year is that nice blue, that rich blue and the cream. Right, all the hostas have some sort of green in them, so it's nice for some contrast.
Definitely, and not green and white.
Right,
that doesn't count.
no, yeah, it's something that's nice and fresh and pops. Were there any other plants that you've come across new for 2019 that really kind of caught your eye and was exciting?
No, I have to say nothing off the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
I found two that I liked in my poking around and through work and things like that. There's a new Little Joker 9-bark.
Ooh.
So slower growing.
Okay.
18 inches tall, 20 inches wide.
Ooh.
Yeah, zone 4 to 9, full to part sun, white pink flowers in late spring to early summer, giving way to their fancy little seed heads. But that nice, smaller, tight foliage and the rich stems, and then, of course, the nice colored maroon stems that the flowers send out and the exfoliating bark. So everyone likes the Carpus or the 9-bark.
What? Sorry, did I miss it? What color is the foliage?
Oh, nope. Yep. No, it's that classic, nice burgundy, rich, dark burgundy black.
Good.
Kind of
Okay.
foliage.
Okay.
Right. Which a lot of the other ones, like Little Dart and things like that have as well.
Yeah.
Tiny Wine.
That's like all the names went out of my head. I use them a lot too. Tiny Wine. Yeah. Okay. That's great.
And then the other one that I saw that I was kind of excited about was Little Ditty Viburnum. So it's a North American sport, like a native sport. Viburnum casinoides is a little ditty. Ditty.
North American native.
Yeah, LIL apostrophe ditty. 24 inches tall and wide and mounding. So it's one of the only dwarf viburnums.
Wow.
Which is really
creamy white fragrant flowers in late spring.
Yeah.
hardy zone 3 to 8. So that's great.
Full to part sun.
Excellent.
And then it does have a really neat, the glossy green foliage will go into a nice bright red as the fall approaches, and it kind of spreads slowly across the leaves, it seems. So
yeah, that's a great feature of most of the viburnums, right?
Yeah, they all have that kind of that reddish or the burgundy kind of fall color, nice rich colors.
Excellent. So. And these are proven winners as well.
Yeah. Little Diddy is also a proven winner.
Excellent.
And I think, where did the little joker go? I wasn't sure if he was proven
he
winner
doesn't
or
have
not,
a PW on the end of his name. But well, that's great.
So some plants to look out for.
Yeah.
And as we come to the last 10 minutes of the show, you'd still have, if you're local, write in. Tell us what your favorite plant is for 2019 or something you're looking forward to plant at instudio101@gmail.com and get in one of the last entries to win Canada Blooms, a pair of Canada Blooms tickets.
That's right. So Larry has written in and he says, "Hi, Joanne and Matthew. Love your show. Longtime listener when I can. However, I live in Oakland, California, and would just love to go to Canada Blooms, but obviously I cannot. Bummer." Larry. Thank you, Larry. Well, we would all rather be in Oakland, California than at Canada Blooms even. So enjoy the sun there in California. Right.
Yes. Well, so next year we'll have to, because we've got so many listeners that are in the States and another part of Canada, we'll have to get some tickets. Maybe Canada Blooms can send us some tickets for the show if they're listening. And we can raffle them off early so that maybe our listeners can create a day trip and come down.
For sure.
Make a little adventure out of it.
For sure. I know there is the week before Canada Blooms, I believe it's the Philadelphia Flower Show. So, again, still does not help our Saskatchewan and our California people, but if you've been to the Philadelphia show, I'd love to hear about that.
Yes. Yeah. Have you been? I have
never been.
No. So that's something that we'll have to put on our own list.
Yeah, for sure. So what else as far as dreaming of spring as the show winds down? I can't believe it.
The show winding down. Well, the other thing we wanted to, it's not quite our regular month in the garden kind of shows.
Right.
But the snow is going to melt. We've got some +9s and 7s and other good degrees coming up in our forecast.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to maybe just quickly touch on some of the things to do when you're, as the snow melts.
Yeah, I mean, we were going to talk with Julie about starting seeds. I would think it's still a little early, no? Or we're just not, you can start buying your stuff, but
right.
Is it really time to sow?
Certain things, yes. Certain things, no.
Oh, okay.
So there's some of the things like your tomatoes, your peppers, celery. There's some really big lead times on some of these seeds to germinate and grow into to get to what you want to harvest. So certain things like that, which need 120 days or 3 to 4 months.
Yes. So tomatoes, yes.
Tomatoes, peppers, or celeries, or a number of other ones. Get those going now.
Okay.
Those are you want to start about now, so that you can get some good crop before we start to see a heavy frost, and they kill them as they start to fruit because they need the X days to mature.
Okay.
So there's a few to get out there. Always buy your seeds early too. The seeds where I work come in like the end of December. Mm-hmm. So like Christmas gifts. I mean, they make great Christmas gifts, but some of the harder to find varieties tend to go very quickly. So it's tough to find them later on, and it's tough for some certain places to reorder them.
Okay.
So if you're looking for something specific, head out and get them sooner. Keep them because they're going to just sit on their shelves, but keep them and watch for their dates. We are 8 weeks or just over 8 weeks before it is the average last frost date, for at least for us here, which is the May 24, the Victoria Day long weekend. I know closer Saskatchewan-wise or Winnipeg-wise, it can be closer to like June 10th through 15th.
Right.
So,
okay.
So keep an eye out on that. As things to go, I guess one of the big things, should I even dare? Well, let's go pruning hydrangeas. Let's go that way.
Okay.
Right. So if you haven't pruned your hydrangeas back, I've had a lot of people wondering, it's too late. What am I going to do? Don't worry about it. If you've got flowers that are left on there, people leave them on for snow. Just watch to see what's coming out. Let them start to leaf out over the next number of weeks. Cut off just the dead heads, anything that's dead above the last growing bud up on the upper leaf, and let them do their thing. You don't have to start hacking to the ground or cutting them back to like 8 inches.
But can you though? Like, so let's say, because I think some of the paniculata ones, like the limelight, that have gotten too big.
Right.
Isn't it good? Like March is kind of a good time to kind of be a bit more aggressive with them.
Right.
To kind of okay.
Yeah, you got it. Yes,
Yeah.
you don't have to start hacking back. It's not you're not gonna lose or like
Right.
Whatever. But yes, if you do need to do some maintenance and shaping pruning, that's a good time to do it as well.
Okay.
Yeah, start taking out a third or get some scaffolding branches, take out some of the older wood, cut her back to half or by a third if you need to. And the panicle hydrangeas is that good.
Okay.
Good one, yeah.
Because I think that's a good time, because if you wait until like mid-April, end of April, then it's just really going to delay your blooms, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to have a big bushy green. It's going to encourage a lot of green growing.
Right.
And it's going to delay your flowers a little bit. So it's kind of a secret. It's not easy to do because it's usually cold and icy and snowy
Yes.
and wet out, and we don't want you trampling on your gardens. But if you do have a couple of very large limelights, you want to kind of cut back, and you probably only have to do that maybe once every 3-4 years to do it that hard.
It's not a regular every week
Yes.
year thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely March is a good time to do that.
It is. You can see the structure of the plant, so it's easy to get in there and do that.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
As we all thaw out, the one popular subject we always get caught into, the lawns.
Mm-hmm.
It's been nice not having to talk about them forever.
Yes, yeah. But there's not much to do initially, right?
No, initially not really anything to do. It is the season to get the corn gluten down before the forsythia starts to bloom out.
Okay.
But try to resist getting on your lawn while it's squishy is my main kind of tip for getting into the spring. You don't want to start getting on the squishy grass and compacting the roots, et cetera, et cetera.
Which is good because our topic for next week is actually sod.
Exactly.
So we are going to be talking sod with Alexander Dickey of Xander Sod. So that is great. So if all our listeners who have got lawn questions, then please stay tuned for next week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Tune in, get all those grass questions going. Alexander's going to join us, tell us all about sod, how they're going to grow it, when it's available, why it's available, when it is, and how to put it down and grow it correctly and what's going on there.
Yeah.
So definitely tune in for that.
Excellent. Excellent. That's a good one. I did want to say, the garden centers, your garden center is open all winter, all year.
Yeah.
I've noticed that there are some garden centers that actually do close down for the winter, and they're all kind of ramping back up again.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure if you do want to wander and, support your local garden centers. Those
Yeah.
are really important. You're going to see some bulbs for sale. The cut branches are going to start being for sale, like the pussy willows and the forsythia. So there are some little touches of spring that we can add to our homes, and we just want to encourage all our listeners to shop local and support their garden centers.
Yes, definitely. Don't be afraid to ask either. Garden centers love to hear what their customers want.
Absolutely.
They love to get what you can get.
Yeah.
For you.
Excellent.
So as we wrap up the show, so we have next week, tune in for Sod with Alexander of Xander Sod, Alexander Dickey of Xander Sod. The week after that, we have Janet McKay of leaf.org.
That's right.
And we're going to talk about our urban forests, our urban trees, and their care. And then Dawn Gallagher.
Yep.
That's right. Okay. I was wondering how to say that. But he's coming from Gardens
She's
Plus.
she's joining
coming
us
from Gardens Plus.
That's right.
Sorry.
And that's a mail order garden. I said about supporting your local garden center. She is local, but she does mail out her. She is a mail order website, so you can check her out at gardensplus.ca. And she's specializing in easy care perennials.
Right.
So anything that needs a lot of work and a lot of maintenance, she doesn't sell it. So she likes the easy care stuff, and she can mail within Canada.
Very nice.
Yeah. So
as we reach the end, I guess, is it going to be draw time?
I don't know if we're going to be able to do that, or if we're just going to email everybody and see who's local.
Or if you want to leave the tickets here, I can handle that for you, but it's up to you.
Perfect.
Okay.
We'll do that.
We'll do that. We'll have, so if you're staying tuned, we're going to send you an email back. I don't know if Gary kept those email addresses, but we will email you, and we will see who is local, and then we'll figure out a way.
That's it. We'll send you that. We'll get you those tickets. And we'll mention who the winner is next week.
And next year, I promise to have them ahead of time so we can give people more time. But thank you, everyone, for joining us here Your listeners, you're as good
Thank
at reading
you.
those.
Emma, George, Gail, Alice, Jason, thank you, and Larry for writing in. Thank you, Gary, always for letting us do the show. And
That's
helping us
right,
out.
producing us here. And thank you, everyone, for once again joining us down the garden path here on Reality Radio 101.
Thank you for listening to Down the Garden Path with your hosts, Joanne Shaw and Matthew Dressing, right here on Reality Radio 101.